So this video is all about histograms, and a histogram is a type of graph that we use in statistics, and it helps show patterns in the type of data that was collected. Whatever that may be, it helps show highs, lows, and different kinds of patterns that might arrive in the data. This distinguishing feature about a histogram is that it deals with intervals of data. So it's not just a single piece of data, it's intervals of that data. There's three different types. The standard one is a symmetrical, or we call it a bell-shaped. It kind of looks like a bell if you imagine there being a bell like that. But it is symmetrical. There's most of the data is in the middle, with there being some tapers out to the sides. Now, if you want to get a skewed graph, there's two different kinds. There's skewed to the left, which would this be? Skewed to the left. There's a lack of data on the left side, or there's skewed to the right, where there's a lot of data on the left, but on the right-hand side, there's a lack of data here. So that is a skewed to the right. So, how do we graph them? Well, we first of all start by separating the data in intervals using a table. So this is our table over here that we're going to use to separate our data. Then we're going to list the intervals on the x-axis. Okay, that's down here. Okay, list the frequency on the y-axis. That's this up and down the vertical axis. And then we'll put a title of the histogram. Alright, so to start, we're going to look at the question. It says, Mr. Hare's math class wanted to chart their test scores for the quarter. Using the following data, complete the chart and create a histogram using the provided axes. So what we need to do is we need to start by going through and picking each piece of data and putting it in this interval. So as you see, I took 48 and put it in the interval between 40 and 50 because that's where it falls. So we do the same thing for the next one. I'll take 50. I'll put that in that same one. 55. That's going to go in the next one. And you just keep going through the data. I like doing this one piece at a time rather than going through and finding all the ones for one interval, all the ones for the next interval. This just is I think, a more systematic way of doing it to make sure that you don't miss any pieces of data. You want to make sure that you get all of them, because if you don't, then you're going to be missing some data and it's going to mess up the look of your graph. So you want to make sure you get every single piece in there. And then once we do have all of our pieces, we can go through and figure out how often each of these intervals happened, or how much they showed up. So we're almost done. Last piece. All right. So from the interval from 40 to 50, there was only two pieces of data. So I'm going to put in here 2. For 51 to 60, there was only 1. From 61 to 70, there was 3. From 71 to 80, 6. Then the next interval, 6 and 6. So now for our cumulative frequency, that's just adding them up. So we're going to have 2 to start, then we add the next one on, we get 3. 3 and 3 is 6, 12, 18, and then 24. Alright, so now we go over to our graph. We have the left side, which again is frequency. I'm going to abbreviate that FREQ, okay, frequency. And then the bottom is where we're going to put our intervals. So we start out, we put our first interval, 40 to 50, and I'm going to do the best I can to write nice and tiny. 51 to 60, 61 to 70, 71 to 80, 81 to 90, and finally 91 to 100. Alright, so now we go through each of our intervals. So we're starting with 40 to 50. There's 2 times that happened, so I'm going to draw my graph to go all the way up to the number 2. Same thing with each one. Now these graphs are touching, so each bar is going to be touching the one right next to it. So from 61 to 70, there was 3, it happened 3 times. And you're going to want to use a ruler when you do this to make sure that you are very neat. It is a little bit, mine is a little messy, but you get the idea. So you mark each of these individual intervals to make sure that you can see sort of the patterns. So there's our histogram, all nice and complete. Now if we go down to the question down here, it says, would you describe your graph as symmetrical or skewed? Explain your choice. Now if we go back to what we were talking about before, this is slightly skewed. It's slightly skewed because there's a lot of data over here, but then we sort of go down and there's somewhat of a lack of data on this side of our histogram. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.